Hi everyone. I am going to be talking about this book that I just finished. I'm showing you this because the edition of this book is wonderful. I just love it. My partner got it for me at one of those free little libraries. Somebody put two of them in there. Anyway. Okay, Hickory Dickory Dock, Agatha Christie. This was my first Agatha Christie book, which I realize a lot of people that love Agatha Christie will probably be like, why would you start with that book? And it's because it was free and it was given to me. And I'm also reading all of the books in my house in somewhat alphabetical order by the last name of the author, and it was next. Okay, so anyway, I say this was my first Agatha Christie book. It's probably also going to be my last Agatha Christie book. And it's not because she's not great at writing mysteries, it's because she's so racist. And I realize, like, anyone that's read her before, or honestly anybody that's, like, paid attention in the world, is probably sitting here like, duh, you didn't know that. And I guess what I'll say is that I knew she was a little racist, but I didn't know she was, like, very racist. So, yeah, that was an issue throughout the book. So I guess I'll talk about that first. Yeah, it's just really... No, actually, I guess I'll talk about the plot first, and then I'll talk about that, because it'll make more sense that way. So anyway, also the story's silly. So the story takes place... This is one of the Poirot novels, so it's not Miss Marple, it's the detective guy Poirot, who I liked, by the way. His character was cool, although he wasn't actually in this very much. Anyway, his secretary's sister runs, like, a student hostel, where she co-runs, like, the student hostel for, like, university students, and little things start disappearing, at the hostel, and the sister is concerned. She's worried that, like, the students are not going to want to stay there anymore, or that they're not going to feel safe because there's this ongoing stealing. And so Poirot comes in to help, and then as he's noticing the list of things that got stolen, it doesn't really make any sense, and it seems kind of concerning to him, and he's like, something deeper is going on here. So through a series of different interviews and, like, little teeny clues, and this book almost entirely takes place inside the hostel, and even then, even just, like, in a few rooms, and most of the book is dialogue. And for me, the best parts of the book were interrogation. So, like, there's just, like, chapter after chapter where this one sergeant is just interviewing each of the different students, and some of them he interviews more than once. To me, that was absolutely the best part of the book, which is funny, because if you told me that, like, a huge chunk of this book is just interrogations, I would have said that sounds boring, but it wasn't at all. You got to see these different characters, and you had to, like, sort of sift through and try and figure out what was a clue or not. So that was, like, the best part of the book to me. And then, like, the relationships between the different characters was really cool. The person who ends up being the murderer, a murder happens shortly thereafter. Actually, a couple murders happen. But so the person who ends up being the murderer is definitely not who I expected, and I was kind of sad when I found out who it was, because I liked that person. So all of that was cool, and I liked all of that. The hostel has a lot of international students in it. All of them are depicted in racist ways to various degrees. But the ones, so there's some students from India. There's also even, like, other white people, but who aren't British, aren't treated well in this book either. So, like, the Italians are, like, loud and angry and obnoxious. So, like, nobody besides British people is treated well in this. Anyway, the people that are treated the worst are the black students, but specifically the ones that are immigrants from Africa. So there's one character in particular who's just like, I mean, right out of like Jim Crow stereotypes of like it's constantly, the book is constantly talking about how white his teeth are in comparison to his skin and how he's smiling all the time, which is just like, I mean, I know that she's not American. I mean, she's dead now, but I know she wasn't American, but like, that is full on caricature level of racism. They also just make him like really obnoxious, and she definitely tries to make it seem like, so she has characters that are racist, right? Like there's characters in the book that live in the hostel who are being racist towards the non-white students. So I get the sense that she thinks that she's making some sort of positive statements on racism, and she's like, look at how racist these people are. Like, actually, like, you know, these non-white students are okay, and they're good in these different ways. But even as she's showing them, like, quote-unquote, be good, she's using stereotypes and saying it almost like that, right? So it's like, you as the reader are like, yeah, I didn't think they weren't good. Like, why are you assuming that I thought they were bad? Did you assume that they were bad? like, why are you doing this? Also, one of the characters who is black is just, like, referred to as Black Bass in the book. So, yeah, I'm not going to read any more of her books. And I'm not going to keep this one. So there's that. It's a shame because her ability to write, like, dialogue in mystery is obviously very good. So I'm kind of interested in seeing, like, what movie adaptations there are out there of hers, and if those are also racist, or if some of the directors, more, you know, modern and less racist directors, have maybe corrected for some of that or not. So I'm gonna, like, do some research and see. But I'm not gonna read anything more of hers. I only have so much time in my life and so many books to read, and I don't want to waste my time reading things I think are offensive. But anyway, also this book, so putting that aside, also this book, the answer to the mystery is stupid, in my opinion, and is like so far-fetched to a point where it's ridiculous. And this was not one for popular books, so it's like a weird one to start out with. But then here comes, like, some major spoilers, but it turns out that the murder happens because there's, like, a drug trafficking, like, international drug trafficking situation happening with this French girl and this British boy. And the way that they're smuggling the drugs is they're buying these special rucksacks, which is like a fancy bag, but it's a bag that's able to be beat up, and you could, like, hitchhike with it. It seems like it's like a canvas material or something, like a rough, thick material. Anyway, they're transporting the drugs and also diamonds into the country using these rucksacks that they're, like, sewing the drugs and diamonds into, and then they're selling them at a store for super cheap, and then the students unknowingly buy them. But then it doesn't make any sense, because if you have a store that's selling these things, and then what? Like, people buy them, and then they don't know that there's drugs or diamonds in their bag, so then you have to have somebody positioned near that person who knows what's in the bag, who's going to follow that person around and wait till they put their bag down and then find a way to, like, rip the seam and get this stuff out and then what? Sew it back up so that the person who bought it doesn't notice? It doesn't make any sense. It's insane. It's literally insane. So that was like trash. And then the murderer himself ends up doing the murders because some of the other students kind of find out about that, and then he was supposed to inherit a bunch of money from his dad, who he's estranged from, but there's this stipulation that says he can only inherit it if he hasn't been committed of any crimes, and so he panics because some of the other students find out he's doing the drug trafficking. He doesn't want to get his inheritance taken away because he's done a crime, so he does the murders. So, like, the murdering part was fine, but the entire drug trafficking scheme was so stupid and far-fetched that it really took me out of the whole entire book, and yeah, it was ridiculous. Also, the other issue I had with this is that, like, this is billed as a Poirot novel, and obviously Poirot is like this character that's been in these other books, so, like, the audience is supposed to be familiar with him, but he's hardly in the book at all. Most of the case is solved by this sergeant, who we get introduced to, and Poirot's kind of, like, in the background, which, I mean, I guess it's mostly, like, the fault of me, because it seems like it's part of a series almost, and I didn't read the other parts of it. But it's just, why have Poirot at all? Like, why even include him? Because I think it actually would have been stronger and better if it just had the sergeant as the main character the whole time. So yeah, the characters that weren't racist were full, rich, really cool characters, and it was very interesting to hear them and watch them interact with each other, and their little relationships with each other were very entertaining, but not enough to overcome the blatant racism and also ridiculousness of this plot. Alright, that's all. I don't recommend it. Bye.